Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge in the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Before the Lock show for the Honda Classic. Yes, I know I mentioned that I was going to be traveling, but that was canceled due to weather conditions. So I am getting you out this final show, and as of always, I'm going to cover ownership projections. I got some final bet thoughts, some final custom stat models that I put together that might help you maybe get those final DFS lineups in order. And with that said, thank you for stopping by. Give me about 25, 30 minutes. We'll get through this pretty quick. And with that, let's go talk a little golf. Okay, so real quickly, all the talk, and you're going to hear about this a ton on the coverage, but is the bear trap. And I've actually got some further information regarding the bear traps. I thought I'd share that with you. Might find interesting. So if you look at the toughest 3-hole stretches over the, well, probably since 2007, so that'd be like the past 15 years. Of course, you got Quail Hollow where they play Wells Fargo. That would be, I believe, the Green Mile. That's the toughest one. You've got the Memorial where at Murfield Village where Jack's plays. And then here's PGA National, of course, where they're playing the Honda. And we always talk a lot about the bear trap. 15, 16, 17 is that par 3, par 4, par 3. Well, funny enough, on the front side, and I kind of mentioned, there's another tough spot. Actually shows up a little bit tougher average to par 5, 6, and 7. And it's a par 3, par 4, par 3 again. And what I think I saw yesterday on the Golf Channel, if I remember correctly, on 16, they actually took out, I mentioned in the preview show that they used to have 67 bunkers here, went down to 60. So somewhere they removed sand. Well, on number 16, for sure, I know that they took out the traps on the right side of the fairway, which is actually should make that par 4 play a little easier. You don't have that worrisome of if you fly it in there, having a tough time maybe getting to the green. It is a very long par 4. Anyways, I wanted to share that with you that there is another stretch of holes that are pretty tough here. With that said, what I find even more interesting is through the PGA Tour media, they put out a bunch of stats and also looking, since this tournament has been hosted here, who has actually scored the best to par on the bear trap since 2007. And funny enough, of course, Adam Hadwin's up there at 5 under, but he is not in the field. But Alex Noren showed up at 4 under. And then over to the right, you'll see the most rounds played without a ball in the water, again, since the bear trap in 2007 and the number of rounds they played. And we've got quite a few guys in the field. Alex Noren, 16 rounds without putting a ball in the water. You got Shank, who I put a bet on. And I actually was looking at the betting stuff today, and we've had some fluctuations. So Adam Shank, if you followed me, you would have got him at 130 to 1. I believe he's dropped all the way down to either 80 or 60 to 1, which is pretty crazy. But I mean, definitely, I think this tournament, as I mentioned, is going to open up for possibilities for hopefully a long shot. You got Sun Jam, the favorite. I believe he's at 10 to 1 right now, where he's made it 14 rounds. And then you got Cam Davis, who has been struggling the last 3 tournaments, but also could be a very good sneaky DFS play. And also from a betting perspective, if you bet him, I know his odds has dropped a bit, but he's at 12 rounds. And then Kelly Craft is also in the field. Funny enough, JJ Spawn is not in the field, but I think would be a great fit for this course. Very accurate, kind of can plot his way around the track. And then the last thing on the field, you're going to notice, of course, Pearson Coody. You probably know a bit about this guy, but he came out of Texas. He was a phenom there, I believe, if I remember right. They won the championship, in 2022. He was, all accolades, kind of a very highly touted guy. But he recently did have a win on the Korn Ferry and has 2 now total. You can see he's T4 on Korn Ferry from a total point standpoint. So a really good Korn Ferry player. And he gets, I believe, 1 more win. I think his other win came in 2022, but maybe I'm wrong. But if he gets 3 wins in this calendar year or in this season, like Mito Pereira, he will get promoted right to the PGA instant status, the former #1 world. So I'm bringing this all up because, he's in the field. But why I bring it up, if you look at DFS and you scroll all the way down, you're going to see another Coody on the board. And that, of course, is his twin brother, who also played at Texas and is working his way through the Korn Ferry. He actually Monday qualified. I'm not saying to play either of these guys. I'm just bringing it to your attention if for somehow reason that, all of a sudden one of these guys was up in the leaderboard that, hey, I didn't bring them to your attention. But they could be sneaky. I'm sure they're going to be very low owned. We'll look at that in the ownership projections. I mean, of course, I'd probably lean more to Pearson than I would Parker. The Coody brothers are in the field, and I just wanted to call that out because if you're looking through DFS, if you get confused, they are twin brothers. Okay, one of the models that I've run, and I always do this typically right before I kind of make my final lineups, is I do what I call a kind of a KISS model, a keep it simple, stupid. even kind of hone it down more to the key things that I know that the guys need to do, at least make the cut and hopefully have a chance of contending. And I kind of limited it down to, almost more of like finding fairways, hitting greens, not making the big numbers. That is key here. Yes, we want guys that can score, but this tournament is not like Shriners or a shootout. A lot of the tournaments we saw early on the West Coast, this is a grinded out tournament. Now, the weather right now looks pretty good. So on average, we see single digit winners, 10 under, somewhere around that. If the weather holds the way it's showing, it could be even a little better. But anyways, that said, these are the guys that came up when I put in my model over the last 6 tournaments. So most recent 6 tournaments, 24 rounds of golf. And I kind of enhanced the good drives. Again, if you don't know what that is, it's not taking distance. It's just hitting the fairway or the first cut of the fairway. Approach at 25%, putting at 10, ball striking at 15, fairways gained at 10. And again, bogey avoidance, I upped a bit. Again, to kind of find out those guys that will, kind of grind out. Maybe they don't make as many birdies, but they also are very good at making pars, which also kind of pushes to around the green, which you'll see is not in there, but they can get up and down. And with that said, funny enough, Satoshi Kodaira just keeps popping up quite a bit in these models. Again, I've played him, as I mentioned in my preview show, a bit more on Showdown, or even that, more of betting him first round leader. He's 200 to 1 if you're interested. You got Sud JM, of course. You got Ben Griffin, Russell Knox. Danny Lee has withdrawn. Of course, he has just announced that he will be playing on the Live Tour. So anything on Danny Lee, I tweeted this out yesterday once I saw it, that he is no longer with us. Also, Thomas Peters and Brendan Steele also went and joined Live here recently. You got Thomas Detry, of course, a European player, who's been a very good player. I picked him to be kind of not a sneaky play, but to get us through on our 6-6 for the Genesis, and he did pull that out. At one time, I think he got 4 or 5 under and then fell back a little bit. You got Hayden Buckley, you got the California kid, Justice Suh. Aaron Rye is a really good grinder, right? He showed up the year that Rahm won the Farmers, and the guy just hits a ton of fairways, can grind it out. The putter, as you see, is typically his nemesis, but fairways gain, like this is a guy for 7,700. If you're looking for that guy to kind of fill in your teams that should get you to the weekend here, I'm interested in him. Austin Cook, Chris Kirk, Will Gordon. Funny enough, he's actually out of all these guys has the most distance off the tee, so that's kind of interesting. You got Lee Hodges, Matt Kuchar, and Bramlett, also someone that's got a lot of distance off the tee. So if you're putting that bomber lineup together, again, not saying that distance, I think, still always trumps out, but you have to make sure you're hitting fairways. Well, Will Gordon and Joseph Bramlett would be some guys that you'd want to look at, because not only do they have distance, but they also have been, pretty decent at hitting fairways. I guess I take that back with Bramlett, not the greatest, but Will Gordon, not too shabby. And then on that note, I wanted to focus specifically just on guys that are hitting fairways the most. So hence the fairway finders. And Aaron Rye, number 1, Satoshi Kodaira, Adam Long, we're going to talk about from a betting side. Got Ryan Armour, Hayden Buckley, Ryan Moore, Lingermuth, Cook, Kelly Craft, Duncan, Zach Blair, Stewart, Brown. A lot of the short hitters, the plotters that hit it, on average, probably about 280-ish, but hit the fairways. And again, guys that I think are pretty live here, because the first thing you have to do is get that ball in play to avoid the big number. Now, real quick, I called it FOMO bets. It's not so much fear of missing out. It was just looking at some odds, looking at, maybe some areas that I thought there was some, I think, value. And so I added 3 more bets to my betting card that I did not show in the preview show, because literally I did them this morning. And the first one was Hank Laboda. The more I kind of started looking at Hank, he's had a lot of success. Well, not a lot, but he had quite a bit of success at the Bermuda course, which is Bermuda. So twice, I think his best finishes has been at the Bermuda. Of course, weaker field, but of course, this is a weak field. The real reason why I'm kind of interested in Hank, if you kind of like walk yourself through this course, the water is always on the right most of the time. And so if you are a right-handed golfer, which the majority of these guys are, and typically most of these guys hit the fade, the draw, or the hook, but the draw is right to left. The ball works from out to right, comes back to the left, is pretty rare. I think you got, off the top of my head, I haven't went through all of it, but Hank Laboda and Garrick Higo, off the top of my head, are the 2 lefties in this field. And why it's important is because if you hit a fade, right, you can aim it down the right side of the fairway, and your ball is going to work back away from the water. So there's that. Also, right, Hank had a ton of missed cuts, and then out of nowhere showed up at Pebble Beach. I believe he ended up 14th. He also had a stretch where we were waiting for him to get that win. I don't know if it was this past summer now, I kind of forget, but he had a really nice run and his game kind of fell apart a little bit. But long story short, he's 250 to 1. I threw a few bucks on it. I was kind of interested in that. Adam Long, 130 to 1. Again, you can see just off the tee, fairways gain and good drives. He's also a pretty good putter. You can see the irons is, could falter, but also I told you guys before I wasn't really that interested in him, that I typically like to play him in weaker fields in the vacation swing. Well, I started thinking, hey, if the winds do blow, he does typically do well in windy conditions and also at kind of a grinded out courses. So 130 to 1 to win outright. All these are outright bets. I was interested in that and put a few bucks on. And then Minwoo Lee, who I briefly talked about, but I'm going to talk a bit more about for you guys because, of course, if you didn't know, that's who was on the actual cover screen that you saw. If you were curious who the heck is that, of course, I believe it's Minjin Lee is his sister on the LPGA Tour, older sister. I did say that, you can't look at these statistics, right? He plays way more on the DP World Tour. I'm guessing that he's going to start making the transition over here because of the success he's had over there. And if we go look at just some quick information, of course, you can go find this too. If you want to do more digging, go to dpworldtour.com. Of course, the old European Tour. And this is his last 5 tournaments played over there. And also quite a few of these tournaments have quite a bit of water. So PGA National, there is some similarities. If you watch the European Tour, I don't watch a ton of it, but the bit that I do, you can see that, they've put up quite a bit of water. And of course, typically they have a lot of wind, especially out in the desert courses that they play. You're going to get wind. There's nothing there to stop it. With all that said, right, he finished up here recently, 13th or tied for 13th. This Abu Dhabi, that's where Rory won. He was right in second, and it was a really strong field. The Australian Open, I believe that's where Cam Smith won. He had a third. Wait a minute, I take that back. I think it was the Fortinet. It doesn't matter. Just 2 finishes at Australia. He's actually an Aussie. Side note, if you did not know that. And also DP World Tour Championship. He had a T12. So if you wanted to take the ties to Matt Jones, of course, an Australian, I told you because this course typically does get a bit of wind or weather, that the Aussies have fared pretty well. Hence Adam Scott and Jones, and even Cam Davis in the past has done well here. Anyways, with all that said, I wanted to bring him into your attention. As you saw, his betting, I think he opened up at 25 to 1. I believe he moved to 28 to 1, and now he's 30 to 1. That's because a lot of people don't know this guy. Even the guys that probably play, I don't know, a bit of DFS golf might still have no really insides on this guy. So, hence why I think the betting market wasn't very strong for him. And there was like a lot of the guys I actually bet, their odds fell. So I felt pretty good about that. The only bet that I made, I believe I bet Eric Van Rooyen. I think he was 80 to 1 to open, 90 to 1 to win now. So a little better value there, but all the rest that I put in, I believe that all the odds have fallen a bit. Just side note. The last one I will put is some more information on him if you're curious. So this year, his some of his stats, they don't have like off the tee and stroke it. They don't have shot link over there, but you still get driving accuracy. So he hits the ball a long way off the tee, but I would say the accuracy could be the problem. Hence, you might have some issues there. Green and reg, pretty strong, putts per green. So the putter is where I see he probably struggles. But you can see the guy figures out how to score because he's 6 on the DP World Tour when it comes to stroke average. So even though some of these stats over here are not elite, when you all boil it down, the guy typically averages under 70, which is pretty, you can see the typical is about a 71 on that tour. And then if you want to look at more stats than what is offered in 2023, because I think he's only played, 5-6 tournaments, I said, it kind of says the same thing. Driving accuracy is a bit better last year, but distance, elite. Green and rag wasn't as good. Even his scoring, so you can see the guy has been playing a little bit better. The putter was better last year, so maybe he's just been in a little bit of a funk with the putter. So maybe, maybe when it comes out that, hey, if he puts if he can hit greens, if he can hit fairways with the distance, get the ball into green and make some putts, of course, is all he could do something here. So I didn't want to miss the ability to get him at a 31, especially in this field. I feel he's a pretty elite talent that maybe won't see those odds again in this kind of field. All right, with that said, let me go jump over. I've got ownership projections, weather that I wanted to cover real quick. Then I'm going to get you guys out of here. So pretty quick show. Okay, so I've hopped over into Fantasy National. And as always, if you are doing any of DFS or putting money on golf, I highly recommend using this to do your analysis. And with that said, just notice, so I also am going to talk through and put a team together for you guys. And when I went to pull up DraftKings, I noticed that Alex Noren actually just withdrew. So I just did a whole spiel on Alex Noren on someone that we want to play. So now I've got to go back and change some lineups and you too. So that just happened. So a little update there if you did not notice. All right. So with that said, ownership projections, not as strong as we saw, of course, for the Genesis. We had like 10,000 actual lineups generated. If you are new and you've never seen me do this before, just so you know, through Fantasy National, you can pick your favorite players, hence these stars you see, and then you can actually build out your teams and pump that into a CVS file, which then dumps into DraftKings, and you make your lineup. So when you want to look at is this number over here is going to represent a very close number to what we see. But now with Noren pulling out, that's even going to probably move some of these numbers more to the upper guys. So right off the bat, no shocker, Sun JM. So, of course, Lowry and M, and it was kind of the builds that I saw happening, right? When you got them at both 10,000, that you can make a lot of builds, especially because I kind of felt like the dead zone was around the 8,000 range. So those guys are going to be the chalk bombs if it happens. So, what I'm kind of doing is, yes, I'm building lineups with M and Lowry, but I'm also building some that totally removes those guys just in case they both blow up. I want to make sure I still have some live entries going into the weekend. Funny enough, amazing is Aaron Wise is coming in third, which I did not see that coming because he has played some pretty rough golf. But I think, talent-wise in this field, I'm shocked that then you don't see Cam Davis up here too, because I kind of feel like, well, if you're going to take a shot on Aaron Wise, why not Cam Davis? Let's go look at Aaron Wise real quick while we're here. I just want to see what's been going on recently. Yeah, so I mean, he's had a couple miscuts. It looks like, at the American Express, nothing was going right. It was around a green and putter, which, he actually did, you can see, started really putting well. The irons have been the issue lately and a little bit off the tee, but, he had a really nice fall. Not a bad tournament of centuries. I mean, again, that's out of 38 guys, if I remember correctly. So, kind of middle of the pack. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. But I again, what you've got to work with here. And it's kind of funny if you look at this. I would look at Aaron Wise a little more distance. You got Jonathan Vegas, got more distance. He's next. You got Thomas Detry, Ben Griffin, Kirk, Denny, Pendrith. Has got distance. So that whole distance narrative, where I'm probably leaning for me a little more to guys that have the accuracy. Because I mean, I don't know, give me 290 in the fairway versus 310 in the water, right? I mean, Alex Noren was right up there. And like I said, so a lot of people is going to be making changes today. He was almost 15% ownership. You got Poston, there's Aaron Rye, Svensson, where his odds, I think he came out at like 80 to 1 or 71. I got a little bet on it. Not as much as I wish I would have. I didn't think his odds would get to where they're at. I think they're at like 30 to 1 now or something like that. 25 to 1 is kind of crazy. It just means a lot of money definitely fell on him. And I think Vegas and the books are a little worried about the exposure. Billy Ho, Kuchar, M. You got Lee Hodges, Benoit Ann, good ball striker. Usually very bad with the putter and around the green. There's that Minwoo Lee coming in at 12. And I'll probably be swapping out a bit of Noren for Minwoo Lee, I guess is what's going to be happening. Got Bobby Shelton, Will Gordon, Bramlett, Straka, English, who, showed up with some good golf on Thursday and Sunday over at the Genesis. But I will warn you, his driver still, let's go take a look at him real fast for you. His driver has been a mess. Yeah, you can see that right here. Literally at the Waste Management, he lost almost 6.5 strokes to the field. 2 at the Farmers, 3 at the Sony. That's what makes me nervous. And then look what he did with the putter. So he did it all at the Genesis with the putter and around the green. It wasn't with any ball striking. So that, I don't know if I don't think I have Harris English in one team at this point. And again, I'm only putting in somewhere between 10 to 20 teams this week. I'll do a little more showdown. I'll get a little betting. Oh, and a side note while I'm thinking of it, of course, Live. It does actually have a DFS little tournaments going on DraftKings. There is betting out there, but under DraftKings Sportsbook or PointsBet, that's the two that I use. I've talked about this before. The reason why is, of course, DraftKings, I've already got money in. And then I just picked PointsBet. I actually got a deal to kind of sign up with them. And I just use that as kind of a bounce off, another reference point. But long story short, I didn't see any live opportunities to bet on those two sites. I'm sure it's offered at other spots that I just haven't used. Anyways, keep moving through. You got Hardy, Jaeger, Bomb, Willett, Maroc, the Zayden Hoop, and Taylor Fratelli. Got some distance. Got Davis Riley, which I'm interested in. You got Palmer, who's played here a ton, but has also had some struggles off the tee here with putting the ball in the water. There's Cam Davis coming at 6%, so can definitely get a leverage spot there if Cam shows up and gives us a good round of golf. Right, it's been 3 bad, but had a pretty nice fall and summer. EVR is less than 6. There's Garrick Higo. I actually might try to put a left-handed swinging team together. I don't know how many I can get here, but I know Garrick. Take a look through the rest of these guys who swings it left. There's my buddy Sadoshi. Badley's been playing a little better golf, making some putts. He's always been a good putter. The off the tee and iron game's been better. There's Kevin Tway. If you're putting that Bomber squad, he's also been playing better golf. Luke Donald, there's a pure plotter, good around the greens, great around the greens, a good putter. There's my Adam Long, who I'm going to put in some lineups at 2%. Trying to see if anybody else stands out. Akshay Bhatia, talked about this guy in the preview show. He's had some good showings. I think it was Sanderson Farms, but like I mentioned, he came out and let's go take a look at him for you again. So he had some pop in the bat, and he's just really sporadic. You see the Butterfield RSM, the last 2 PGA starts weren't too shabby. And the Fortinet, he came on one of these. I don't know if it was the Fortinet. He came out, shot like 8 under the first day. Like, I think I hit him for a first round leader. I'm pretty sure at least once. So kind of an interesting play. It's going to be really interesting to see this leaderboard. Danny Lee, as I mentioned, is no longer with us. So this field it was bad to begin with, and it seems like it just keeps getting a little worse. I also saw, I believe Patrick Rogers pulled out of the event. All the rest of these guys, are just low owned, and there's nobody else. Funny, there was a point in time where Michael Glickich actually had a little run of golf. Let's go take a look at that. When was that? You can see it's been a disaster. But yeah, right here in the summer, he had a nice little run, and then it's been, I don't know what changed. Everything's red. When he was kind of playing well, he was, look at the John Deere, how well he struck the ball and even putted well on those bent greens. Anyways, that would, literally something like that could happen. I think the field is just getting more and more. That Marcus Bird, right? You got to see him. He was it the APGA? So he got the invitation from Tiger to play exemption, whatever you want to call it. He didn't play bad. He didn't make the cut, but it wasn't terrible at all. And then he won, and I don't know if he won the APGA, something like that, where he got this invite. So if you want someone totally under, there's that Parker Coody I mentioned. Nobody's got him. If you want some just crazy distance, Brandon Matthews, probably the longest driver on tour, but that's about it. And I don't know. Yeah, look at his accuracy. So averages 325, and he's less than 50%. Since he's got his card, it's just been on a miscut tear. He did make the cut to Sanderson Farms. That was about it. He did have a win in 2022, of course, which helped him get his card on the Corn Ferry. I have to go look. I'm just curious. Let's go do a quick little side dive on our buddy here, Brandon Matthews. So Astra, I don't know, Bogota Logos. I was just trying to see what the course was if I knew anything, but I do not. It's a par 70. It's a long track, over 7,400 yards, but that's a tough track. Par 71, 7,400 yards. That makes a little bit of sense. He must have kept it in play a little better. All right. Anyways, that gives you a little bit of understanding and ownership projection. So really all the chalk. Oh, where does Shank fall? I was curious. Hold on here. 4% owned. I was just curious where he was at from ownership projection. Let's go look at weather, and then we'll go build a lineup. All right. So real quick, of course, as always, if you are doing showdown, you got to leverage Windfinder. Typically, the early morning guys are the guys that typically a lot of the showdown guys play, especially if you're in like the bigger games. But you don't want to pull up Palm Beach International Airport. The reason why I'm using this one, it is close. But you get super forecasts off this one. Sometimes you can just get just a regular forecast off the others. And why I like super forecast, because it breaks it down hour by hour. And you can see right now they've got some wind, but it's been really nice and warm there, which, I guess it's going to be pretty fast and firm. But this is what we care about is Thursday, and really nothing I didn't see in the weather. You can look at maybe a little pop-up shower at 2:00 here. But, I guess you could say it's saying the winds will be, stronger in the morning. But when I see this, that doesn't bother me at all. I'd rather still kind of go with the early morning tea times. And Friday looks really good and calm and great weather. And then when I looked out, even over Saturday, Sunday, which we could do that right here. Again, this is looking out quite a few days now. Nothing's showing up on the weather at all. Okay, so I've hopped over into DraftKings, and I thought we'd just quickly build a lineup. Now, this lineup, I'm going to go a little different here. And what I'm going for is more of elite kind of ball striking possibility to go off from a scoring the points. And with that said, so these are the guys that I'm kind of my starting five: Aaron Wise, Cam Davis, Minwoo Lee, Svensson, and Ricky Bobby Shelton, which leaves me 6,800. And you could probably do quite a few things. So if you wanted a guy that you felt like, honestly, probably who I would throw in here, just from that perspective of, could go off, and it has shown, is Akshay Bhatia. I just talked about him. But this is also, this whole lineup could literally miss the cut, which I feel like, you could almost make that argument for anybody you pick. But for upside, out of the talent that we've got in here, I actually really like this lineup. So, if I got rid of Akshay and I want to just like say, oh, I want to go with a guy that I think will get me to the weekend, Satoshi Kodaira, who can also, could score, but I feel like he, over the last 6 tournaments he's played, as I showed you, he's been doing the things that'll get you to the weekend. Between those two guys would probably who I would plug in at the 6,800 number. Trying to see, Doc Redman is a good ball striker, but been a terrible with a putter. There's my Hank Laboda. So that could be another guy I could plug in there if, I'm feeling that he could kind of ride in that whole left-handed narrative. That's probably about my Smotherman actually is out now, which that's crazy because he needs a decent finish. That guy has been struggling. Austin Cook, from more of a plot yourself around, could be good. I mean, Chad Ramey, right? He won, what is it, the Puerto Rico? I know it's Corrals. I always get those vacation swings, but he showed up here recently. Let me go take a look at him. Maybe he fell back. Maybe it was AT&T because he was up there on the leaderboard like day 1, day 2. But he typically, I mean, his win was, it was pretty windy out. Of course, again, he's pretty elite with the putter at times, or can go off with the putter. Anyway, so that kind of gives you the ideas, I guess, of, where I would probably put is Akshay Bhatia or Satoshi Kodaira to be a little safer. And then Hank Laboda again, just on a whole pure shot of that whole lefty narrative kind of works out. All right, so there's my lineup that I'll be putting in. And again, feel free to dupe me if you'd like. But, hopefully, again, we can chop. I think the big game is at 250K. So best of luck to us. Let's jump out of here and wrap this thing up. All right, so as always, you know the drill. If you do me the honor of clicking that like button, sharing it, please leave any comments, good or bad. I'm always interested to hear, and most of everything that you guys have been leaving, I really appreciate the very positive, uplifting comments. So thank you for that. And if for some odd reason you are watching me for a bit here and have not hit that subscribe button, no skin off your teeth, please do so. I have been seeing a nice little increase on the subscribe base, so we can keep that going. It'll keep me doing what I do. And last but not least, follow me on Twitter. Anything that I see, I will update you guys over during the tournament. So all the best of luck. Oh, I'm glad I got the show off for you. I hope it helps. And and there was no pressers. Not yet. That's been released that I've seen. I know Straka did one, but it's not on the 10 golf that I watched the presser. So there's supposed to be more pressers. The only reason why I watch those really is to hear about course conditions and how it's playing. Just curious on that note. But all right, guys, best of luck to us this weekend. And we've got a big elevated event. Of course, we're going to Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill, so a pretty quick little jaunt. And talk to you guys later. Take care.